Hey everyone, I'm Joe, or you can call me Skylar Horizon, and this is going to be the first iteration of our Deck Doctor series. And today the deck we're looking at is going to be this Feln Control, or also known as Party Hour deck, and this is the deck that was piloted by Ragnaut about a week ago, and he ended up getting first place in the Eternal Tournament series. So the deck ended up doing very well there. And the meta for that tournament actually ended up being a lot of mid-range decks, and you can see here that Ragnaut's version of Party Hour is tailored to beat these mid-range decks. We can see these 4 Death Strikes here, these 2 Feeding Times with 6 premium removal spells altogether. We've got the 2 Celestial Omens for when the game goes late and you need to find your combo pieces. And then also we've got this singleton copy of Azendel's Gift, good for winning out those long games against control decks and other mid-range decks that are kind of clogging up their hand. And then we can see this 2 copies of Witching Hour here. Now, I'm having trouble playing this deck at the lower stages of the ladder, because normally at the lower stages of the ladder you don't see as much mid-range and control. You mostly see these aggro decks, these fast, swarmy aggro decks that try to get underneath you and to kind of tear you apart before you can get your game plan going, especially with a combo deck like this where you want to use your Champion of Cunnings to kind of go off with your Yetis from your scouting party, or if the game goes late enough to use one of your copies of Witching Hour. But it feels kind of bad to have 2 copies of Witching Hour in your hand whenever you're playing an aggro deck and you can't use either one of these Witching Hour cards to impact the board at all. If we look over here kind of at the lower curve of our deck, we can see that we've got this singleton copy of Backlash, which is great against those mid-range and control decks, not so great against the aggro decks. This doesn't impact the board at all, doesn't help you clog up the ground. This Aelin's Favor, once again, not really going to help us clog up the board in the early game. These 4 Feln Strangers, not excellent blockers by any means, but they'll do something to help kind of get us back to where we need to be when the game's going. We really play these for the influence requirements. This singleton copy of Lightning Storm. Now this is probably Feln's best answer to those aggro decks, but we only have 1 copy here. So I'm feeling like the singleton copy is not going to be enough, but we'll play a couple games here and kind of see if we get this Lightning Storm when we need it. Really, other than that, our only version of early game removal are these 3 Vera Favors that we have. Now I love Vera Favor, and it really does a great job in this deck of helping you kind of clear the board early and then drawing the sigils that you need for your late game. But it's not enough. The 1 damage sometimes is not enough to push through those bigger bodies for these early aggro decks, especially once some of these units get suited up with weapons. And then Feln Bloodcaster is probably our best early game blocker, and I like seeing that we have 4 copies of it here. But when he's really the only substantial body that we have in the early game, when you just don't draw them, then you have issues. You're not going to be able to clog up the ground at all. You're not going to be able to find your singleton copy of Lightning Storm, so then you just get swarmed and taken over before you even hit turn 5 or 6 when you really want to start taking over the game. And then we had this Midnight Gale. Midnight Gale is a great offensive creature. Sometimes when left alone unchecked, you can really take over the game, but this 4/3 body doesn't make him a great blocker against things that are coming down in turns 2 or 3 of the game, and then a single torch will just blow out your Midnight Gale, and you lose a lot of value there. So let's take this deck into the ladder right now. Let's play a couple games, and let's kind of see how we do. Now I'm thinking that we're going to see a lot of aggro decks here at the beginning of the ladder. I'm still starting beginning of the month here, so I'm back in bronze. And I'm having a hard time kind of getting back into gold where I was before. So let's see here. This isn't a bad hand. I actually like this a lot. This gives us some early interaction. I think we're going to keep this. And we get to play first, so this may give us a little bit of opportunity to get out ahead. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna see these guys get weaponed up here. So let's play our Feln Stranger. Probably is gonna have a weapon here, which is gonna be unfortunate. Let's see if he had it. Okay, so just 2 sparring partners. That's really not too bad. Now, what this means for us, we'll have to wait and see. Not sure if right now we want to play this Feln Bloodcaster or this Midnight Gale, because the Bloodcaster is not going to be able to trade with either one of these if they get suited up. I think we'll play our Midnight Gale. If he has a torch, that's going to be unfortunate, but I think that's just the way it goes. Yeah, so he has the torch. We're going to lose a bit of value there on that play, but you know, it's not the end of the world. We have another Midnight Gale. We still have 2 more blockers here. Alright, so now he's going to start doing some things. Not going to be great for us. So we're going to go ahead and take this damage. Okay. So we can play a Feln Bloodcaster and double block to kill this. That means we'll lose our Feln Bloodcaster probably. And he'll be able to get in damage and Warcry off this Oni run. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to Death Strike just yet. So I think let's play the Bloodcaster with double block. Next turn we can maybe Varus Favored and use that Sigil to play our other Bloodcaster. Not what we want to see. Alright, so now we're not going to want to take 12 damage here. No, actually we couldn't have done this anyways. This would be 5 mana. Things not going great. So like I said, these decks are going to be able to get underneath us pretty early and pretty quickly. If we play the Midnight Gale, we can maybe block the sparring partner with it. Block here. Next turn, kill this. He's kind of coming at us pretty hot and heavy. We don't have a lot of options. We're just going to have to throw units under the bus and hope that we can stabilize. Not great. Not great. Oh. So, I mean, we're going to have to double block here. Take the 7 damage. So we're going to have to Death Strike. We'll want to kill this. And then block. Well, not much we can do about that. So, just as I feared, these decks are able to get underneath us before we can really get anything going. I mean, we can throw more blockers out, but I just don't think that we're going to be able to pull this one out. Just keep throwing units under. Well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Woo! So we're gonna have to block these. Woo-wee! Yeah, not looking great. I think that's game. Nothing we can really do here. He can fly over and get that 3 damage in, and that's going to be game. Always play your games out to the end, though, because you never know. Especially in a deck like Party Hour, you might be able to find your combo pieces out of nowhere. So, tough breaks on the game there. Let's roll back in the queue, get a couple more games and kind of see what we're looking at, and then we can make our changes from there. So let's see. So the sparring partners, having the 3 toughness made it really difficult for any of our blockers to kind of take them down. Feln Bloodcaster only has 2 attack. Then by the time they got a weapon on them, Midnight Gale is not a good blocker. So we might want to look into some ways to take out some of those creatures with the higher defense. So we're not going to be able to play this hand. Let's throw it back. And this one's not great. We're going to be depleted here. So we'll throw this out first, and hopefully we can draw a Sigil and get these guys going. So still not what we're looking for. But at least we got to play first, so the tempo doesn't hurt us too bad, the tempo loss. Okay, so still nothing going on your side of the board. Let's go ahead. So they do have a fast spell. Let's see what they do. We haven't seen much from them at all quite yet. Okay, drawing cards. Alright, so we have 2 Midnight Gales. I don't feel bad about just throwing one out right now and making him deal with that. And then we can kind of craft our game plan from there. Okay. I'm telling you, there's always a torch for your Midnight Gale. 100% of the time, they have the torch. Okay. Now he'll be at 5 mana next turn, which is going to be Harsh Rule territory. And he could have a Lightning Storm as well, since he's playing Primal too. So I think we throw out the other Midnight Gale. See what happens. Okay. What did I say? I always have the torch. Always have the torch. Okay. So he's doing a lot here. Let's just throw out the Stranger. I really don't want to throw these scouting parties out there just yet. I want to try and see if we can get the game to go a little bit longer. And then if he doesn't want to take care of his Feln Stranger, then we can start just chipping away. We'll play this on our turn, see what we draw. So this is good. We now have our faction requirements that we need for our champion. Okay. So now the Feln deck has problems with Aegis creatures. Oh, but what's going to be good here, can use this Azendel's Gift, drop his hand. Now this is definitely going to be a threat that we need to take care of, and we have the feeding time, but we need some way to pop this Aegis on this Sicaria here. She's going to cause us problems pretty quickly if we're not able to do something about it. But once we get him to drop his hand, then we'll be able to play the scouting party without having to worry too much about him finding a Harsh Rule. Okay. Now it may just be too late at this point. I mean, he's got 10 damage on board next turn. Neither one of these scouting parties is going to impact the board right now. Let's see. If we play this Harbinger, it gains us some life, it pops the shield, it blocks for a turn. I think that's going to be just to pop this Ace. Block for a turn. Okay, we're gonna feeding time the Icaria. I think we're gonna have to hope to draw another removal spell pretty quickly. Unfortunately not. Maybe one of these Yetis will draw it for us, unless he just has a way to end the game right here, which would be unfortunate if that's the case. Okay, so we're gonna attack with them all, and they're not gonna be blocking anytime soon. We have enough premium removal spells that hopefully we can draw one. So there we go, we got a little lucky there, right at the end. Now we want to put some pressure up. Let's play this so he can't torch us. Reverse favor. Draw some power. See what happens. If he has another Icaria, we're kind of out of luck. He has a giant hammer, so that's a thing. That's definitely a thing. If we could have drawn that off his deck, that would have been great. But, you know, we get what we get. Okay. I mean, things could be worse. Things could be worse. Alright, so that's good. You know? Sometimes you just get there. And we just got a little lucky there. But, I mean, that's what Party Hour does. You stall the game until you find your combo pieces, and then you're able to go off. So even though, I mean, he had a pretty commanding lead at one point in that game. He had the Icaria, he had the 5/5 in the air, but we were able to just stall the game, use our Yetis, draw us more cards so that we could find our removal. You know, I hate to say it's luck that we managed to get the removal spell that we needed off of the very last card that we drew. But honestly, that's the way the deck is built. I don't think you can contribute that completely to luck when you draw the card, even if it's the last one, and we did get a little lucky. You know, that's what the deck does. You play your Yetis and you draw cards off of them. So, I mean, I don't think they went exactly according to plan. But that's why I like the matchups against these control decks and these mid-range decks, is that you're able to win seemingly out of nowhere, just like that. I mean, we went from having, what, 3 Yetis and a Feln Bloodcaster on board to doing something like, I remember, 20 damage in one turn. So let's see here. So we'll lead with this. Let's see what he's on. Okay. So go ahead and get another Shadow Sigil. This gives us the extra 4 we need to get up to 5 for our champion. Okay. Let's play our Bloodcaster. So our hand's not looking super great right now. Okay. So here's where a Lightning Storm would be great. Lightning Storm would be amazing right here. Okay. So we're just going to keep... If he wants to go wide, then we'll commit to the board. We're not really afraid of any board wipes or anything like that. So the killer That's not great, but we've got a Death Strike, so. But the Death Strike is the last card that we have, and we're just drawing more. I think I want to go ahead and do this, just in case he has a teleport or something like that. And now let's kind of just sit back, because we are all out of cards. So not really important for us to go in and get the damage. If we can push the game to go longer, we might have a better chance. It's not great, but it's not the worst. You know, if that's his best play, then so be it. Say we go for the Yetis. That'll really slow him down. And I'm okay with trading these Yetis off. Well, that happens too. Goodness. So you can see now we're having that lightning storm at the beginning would have been amazing, but now we're just about to get run over. And I really don't think that this party hour deck has a way to come from behind right now. Yeah, really looking pretty slim on options as it is. This Bloodcaster's not even going to be a great blocker for us anymore. Let's see. Goodness. I'm going to keep our Bloodcaster. The one extra damage from this. Well, maybe I should have blocked this, but I mean, we really had no way to win on the next turn anyways. It wasn't going to happen. So let's see if we can get one more. So I think you can kind of see now what I was talking about, where not having these answers to these decks early in the game that really pick up speed pretty quickly. Like if we had the Lightning Storm there within the first 3 or 4 turns, I think we would have been just fine. You know, his +1/+1 to all of his units wouldn't have been near as good if he only had 1 or 2 on the board instead of having 4 on the board. No, not going to be able to keep that. Those 3 scouting parties are really going to clog up our hand. At least this gives us something to do early on. Let's get this out here. And we're going to go for a Primal Sigil. So let's see what he's on. Okay. So this looks like it. So some sort of FJP. Let's go ahead, get some chip damage in with this Feln Stranger, if he's going to try and go a later game. Okay, so let's go ahead and tag. We're going to sit back. He hasn't shown us anything yet. Okay. Okay. I think we want to play our other Feln Stranger now. We'll save this for his favor. We'll see if we might need it later in the game. Okay. We don't want to play this Midnight Gale into a board wipe. We're a little threat light right now. Hopefully this Witching Hour might be able to come into play later in the game. Okay. It's unfortunate. I wanted to break this, but it's okay. I mean, it's not great. Playing against a control deck that's drawing cards, it's never where we want to be, but let's see what happens. Okay. What is he going to grab? Let's draw cards. I think we're going to have to throw a threat out. This Midnight Gale is probably not going to last the turn, but okay. So if we can pop the shield, let's get this. Alright, so that took a lot of cards to do that, but Datacaria is going to eat us alive. Okay. Draw on his turn. I think we want a scouting party. That'll really drop the cost of this witching hour. And he's most likely going to have a removal spell. But at this point in the game, I don't know that there's much that we can do about that. Let's see. So let's draw. Give backlash. That's unfortunate. But at this point in the game, he's just drawing so many more cards than we have, because we haven't been able to remove the Staff of Stories. See what we draw. Okay, so that's nice. Okay. So the Witching Hour is getting close to being playable. Normally these decks only run 2 Icarias, so we might just have to watch out for the Sword of the Sky King. He's probably going to go grab it right now, which is bad for us. 3 Icarias. Sometimes you're just wrong, and you get hit by a 12-10 Icaria. Right. So really, his Staff of Stories didn't work there. We could not pull it off of him. So we played 4 games. We went 3 and 4, I believe. We won against the first control deck we played, but we lost to the aggro deck in the beginning. We lost to that time deck that went wide on us. We didn't have a way to get rid of those units once they went wide, and then we just lost that to that last control deck there at the end, because they just drew more cards than we did. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to go look at our deck, we're going to make some changes, do the deck doctoring that we need to do, and then come back after the changes and play a couple more games, and then see how we do in the ladder from there. So we'll be right back.